Glasgow Electric Plant Board. Glasgow wants to know. With your host, Mr. Uhel Barrickman.
Welcome to another in a series of programs of Glasgow Wants to Know. Tonight we begin 4 consecutive programs interviewing the candidates for the various offices in Barren and Metcalfe counties coming up in Tuesday's week's election. We are also being carried tonight by WCLU, thanks to Henry Royce, the owner and manager of the radio station, and will be carried by the radio station for the other 3 programs after tonight. Tonight we have the candidates for County Judge Executive of Barren County. Tomorrow night we will have the candidates for County Attorney of Barren County. Wednesday night we will have the candidates for District Judge for Barren Metcalfe County, and on Thursday night we will have the candidates for Circuit Judge for Barren and Metcalfe counties. Tonight it is our pleasure to have as our guest to be interviewed on this program the Republican nominee for County Judge Executive, David Dickerson, and the Democratic nominee for County Judge Executive, Tim Gillenwater. And I want to tell the audience, as well as the 2 candidates being interviewed, that we will not have telephone calls tonight and will not answer any telephone calls tonight. And the same will be true for the succeeding 3 programs involving the other candidates. It's strictly a matter of interviews with the candidates. First, David, I would ask you to give a brief history of your education and your occupation, not getting in at this time on your qualifications or lack of them for County Judge Executive. We'll get into that later. Just briefly, your background.
Thank you, Mr. Barrickman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this opportunity to come to you tonight via Glasgow Electric Plant Board CATV division and by WCLU Radio. It's a pleasure to be here to be able to speak with each one of you this evening. My name is David Dickerson. I'm a native of Barren County, Kentucky. I was educated in the Glasgow Independent School Systems and have a Bachelor of General Studies degree from Western Kentucky University. I presently have 6 hours of postgraduate study in the History Department at Western Kentucky University. I'm presently a co-manager of Dickerson Lumber Company at 11820 Burkesville Road in Glasgow, Kentucky, where we're involved in the manufacturing of hardwood lumber and pallets. It is indeed a pleasure to be here to address you this evening and to take this opportunity to present myself to the citizens of Glasgow, Barren County as a nominee for Barren County Judge Executive. Thank you.
Tim, would you do likewise, please?
Thank you, Mr. Barrickman, for the opportunity to be on your program. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the Electric Plant Board for the opportunity to appear on their show, as well as WCLU for the opportunity to speak to their radio audience. I was born in 1951 in Barren County, Kentucky. I attended at the T.J. Sampson Community Hospital, attended Glasgow High School, and graduated from Western Kentucky University with a bachelor's degree in English, Literature, and History. I've done postgraduate work and graduated from the Vanderbilt University School of Law, as well as continuing legal education 15 hours per year since that time, as well as pursuing other postgraduate studies in unrelated fields. I live on a farm with my wife Jeanette and my 2 sons Justin and James in the South Fork community of Barren County, and practice law in the city of Glasgow, which I did with my father previously, James Gillenwater, and now do with my partner Ron Hampton, and been practicing law for about the last 15.5 years. I'm very proud to be here this evening.
Before we can get into, or should get into, qualifications for an office, we should have an understanding of the powers and duties of the office. And the powers and the duties of the County Judge Executive Office of any county are many. Mr. Gillenwater, what is your understanding of the powers and duties of the office which you seek?
Thank you, Mr. Barrickman. The office of Barren County Judge Executive is the chief executive officer of Barren County. The Barren County Judge Executive presides over the 7-member fiscal court of Barren County and is in charge of an approximately $4 million annual budget made up of tax money, and approximately a third of that budget, over a third the past year, is made up of state and federal funding. The Judge Executive has powers of appointment to many boards that service our community, as well as being over the employees of the county, and supervises the budget of the jail, the sheriff's office, the county court clerk's office, the county road department, among other things. It is a very powerful office in that it's the chief executive officer of the county. The county judge executive as well should be a good ambassador to industry and commerce to secure jobs for this community, as well as being an articulate spokesman for this community in Frankfort and Washington to maintain and hopefully exceed our present level of state and federal funding.
Mr. Dickerson, do you agree? And if you do you know of other duties that you should discuss?
Mr. Barrickman, I basically agree with Mr. Gillenwater's statement, with a couple of additions, if I might make those at this time. Not only is the Barren County Judge Executive the presiding officer over the fiscal court, but he is also a voting member of that court, with the same responsibility to vote upon issues that each of the other 7 members of the Barren Fiscal Court has. He does preside over the budget. He does supervise certain department heads within Barren County government, and has the responsibility, in addition to being the chief executive officer of the county, to being the chief administrative officer of the county. It's the judge executive's responsibility to periodically present to Barren Fiscal Court the administrative code of Barren County for its review and acceptance or amendment thereof. So there are a few additional duties to the job that Mr. Gillenwater described that I would like to add. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, now you've brought up 2 matters that I was going to ask about later on. We'll get into one of them now. You've already mentioned that the county judge executive is a voting member of the fiscal court. Does he have veto power?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
Do you agree, Mr. Gillenwater?
I would have to research that point. I do not believe that he does, but I would not want to say that with 100% certainty at this time.
The next question in that regard, assuming that he doesn't have it, like the mayor of Glasgow and the mayor of all of the cities in the state, as well as the governor and the president of the United States, should he have it?
Mr. Barrickman, if I could enunciate one theme for the forthcoming 5 years for Barren County that I would want to include as county judge executive, it would be teamwork and cooperation to keep this county at the top. Not a gridlock situation with the use of a veto power, but a team effort and cooperation like we've had for the past 12 years to keep this county #1. This county's in the red with over $1 million in the bank. This county is the 5th ranked agricultural county in the Commonwealth. This county is #1 in many independent agricultural areas. We've added over 1,800 jobs in the last 12 months. We're in the top 10% in tourism. Teamwork and cooperation, not vetoing, but there's 4 unopposed magistrates on the fiscal court, all of whom support me for county judge executive. I believe that we won't ever have the need for a veto or disagreement with Tim Gillenwater as county judge executive, but teamwork and cooperation to keep this county right at the top where it is now.
Do you think the county judge executive should have veto power? Obviously, Mr. Gillenwater doesn't think so. Do you think they should or should not?
No, Mr. Barrickman, I don't think it's necessary for a county judge executive to have veto power. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that we do need at this level of government is cooperation between the county judge executive and each of the 7 magistrates that serve on Barren Fiscal Court. But in addition to a willingness to cooperate with each of those gentlemen, one of the things that I would bring to the job of Barren County Judge Executive would be a willingness to work with the magistrates on a day-to-day basis. That's one commitment that you've heard me make this year in the campaign for Barren County Judge Executive, and it's a commitment that I will keep. Many of you know my character, and you know that I stand behind my handshake. You know...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know that when I tell you that I make the commitment to work with you with regular office hours, 6 days a week, that's what I mean. I also intend to spend at least 1 day a month traveling with the 7 members of the Barren Fiscal Court to the various districts to speak with the citizens of our community and to determine and prioritize road and bridge needs and those other areas where we might expand our industrial base and meet the needs of our citizens to make county government more responsive. That's the pledge that I make and the commitment that I make to each one of you.
Well, now, you raised a question also in your answer a moment ago of the preparation of an administrative code. It's responsibility of the county attorney to prepare and submit to the fiscal court an administrative code. I'm assuming that the county now has an administrative code. Have you examined the existing code?
Yes, sir, I have, not in great detail, but I do know that there's an administrative code that does exist. It was revised in February of this year, once again with regard to personnel in June of this year by the President, Barren Fiscal Court, and Judge Executive Gardner. It speaks to generally the way that the county will be run with regard to purchases and with regard to personnel matters. It's very specific in those matters, and we might go into detail about those matters at another time.
Have you examined the code, Mr. Gillenwater, the present code?
Only roughly, Mr. Barrickman.
Do either one of you think that the code needs revising? And remember, the code not only contains matters about the administration, but it also contains matters about the number and duties and so forth of county employees. Have either one of you thought about whether we've got too many, too few? You have any ideas or any suggestions for adding to, deleting, amending? Mr. Gillenwater.
Thank you for the opportunity to address this question, Mr. Barrickman. One thing students of managerial science always stress is that in an organization such as this, before making radical changes in the nature of an organization, one should participate in its management for approximately 6 months. I don't believe, as the new captain of a ship, one would want to contemplate changes in the crew of the ship or the manner in which it's been sailing unless one has had hands-on experience actually sailing the ship. I would like to spend a few months before making any radical changes in the operation of a successful county government that has put us in the very first rank of counties statewide.
Do you have any comments in regard to any proposed changes that you think might be needed, or are you satisfied with the present system?
Mr. Barrickman, I believe that Judge Executive Gardner chose to revise the present administrative code of Barren County at this time because he realized that in January of 1994 he would no longer be the Barren County Judge Executive. I believe that showed a great deal of foresight on his part to assist me when I assumed the office in being able to administer the job of Barren County Judge Executive without having to worry about the administrative code. I trust the men that serve on fiscal court, and I believe that they took this action to make the transition a much simpler one for me in January of 1994.
What is the salary for the county judge executive, Mr. Gillenwater?
It's my understanding that it's approximately $41,000, $42,000 with certain fringe benefits, health, and about a $3,000 travel expense. With respect to David's comments about Judge Gardner revising the administrative regulations of this county to make it easier for him to be county judge, I think the voters may have some slight little say-so in who's going to be your next county judge executive.
What is your understanding as to the present salary?
Mr. Barrickman, I think the present salary is a total package of approximately $50,000 or $1,000 per week. It's a salary that I believe commands full attention by the man that the voters choose to be Barren County Judge Executive. I do believe that the voters realize that my commitment to full service in the office will allow me to do a much better job as County Judge Executive, and if the voters of Barren County would forgive my presumption, I do believe that I shall sit in that seat in January of 1994.
Since the salary is about $50,000 a year, and since both of you gentlemen are spending considerable money in order to attain the office, I gather by commercials on TV and otherwise, after you get through paying your bills and so forth for attaining the office, what's left, salary-wise? Mr. Gillenwater.
Uhel, I don't exactly understand your question. What do you mean, what's left?
Well,
could you clarify, please?
Yeah, I'll clarify it. You probably won't want to answer it right now, but you can give me an estimate. You're finally going to have to file it anyhow. What's your campaign costing you?
Well, Uhel, I don't mind telling you a bit. It's financed primarily out of the Gillenwater pocket bank account or such as that. I've avoided taking, how shall I put it, large campaign contributions because I don't really want to be beholden to anybody. But I'd say, of course, I had a slight problem that David didn't have, namely having to run a primary election, which against three other fine, honorable Democratic gentlemen, and I managed to get a few more votes than they did. But the last time I checked, Uhel, I guess before it's all over, out of personal funds, I will probably end up spending close to $30,000.
What about you, David?
Mr. Barrickman, I suspect that by the end of business on November the 2nd that my campaign will have spent in excess of $18,000.
Now that raises what I consider to be one of the primary questions in this race. Why do you want to be County Judge Executive? And again, I'm referring, for those on the radio, I'm referring to Mr. Dickerson first. I will, of course, ask Mr. Gillenwater the same question.
Thank you, Mr. Barrickman. As a businessman in Barren County, it's been a privilege to have been able to work with Barren County citizens on a day-to-day basis in the operation of our business. Barren County's been extremely good to me. I've been able to make a living here. I've been involved in certain civic clubs in Barren County. I was a member of the Glasgow Rotary Club in the late 1970s and early 1980s, where I was able to give something back to my community. I've been a fundraiser for the Boy Scouts Sustaining Membership Enrollment Drive. I've been a Little League coach and a Little League assistant coach. I'm presently a member of the Glasgow Kiwanis Club, where, again, I have contributed to my community's civic affairs by being involved in these service clubs. Primarily, the desire that I have to be Barren County Judge Executive is to serve every citizen of the county and in some way contribute to the progressive nature of our community. I hope that in the next 5 years that I shall have the opportunity to lead our county into the future and to build it just as it's been done over the past 12 years. I want to serve. That's the only desire that I have. I have no desire for power. I have no desire to make money. I have no desire to do anything but to contribute to my community. That's all I want to do. That's what I've done in the past with my civic service, and that's what I want to do as Barren County Judge Executive. That's my only desire, and that's to serve you as Barren County Judge Executive.
Judge Gillenwater, why do you want to be? I'm thinking of your father already here again. Tim, why do you want to be County Judge Executive?
If that was a Freudian slip, Uhel, if that was foresight or a tribute to my dad, thank you for any or all of the above. This term for County Judge Executive is going to be a landmark term in Barren County. It's a special 5-year term that will take us up to the turn of the century. Whoever the voters choose to put in there will be in there till 1999. It's a special 5-year landmark term. My sole desire to be county judge executive is to keep this county among that upper echelon, among that top level of counties in the Commonwealth, to keep us number one. My point in wanting to be your county judge executive is to have my hand on the steering wheel to keep this county right at the very top.
You know, it was Theodore Roosevelt that said that the presidency of the United States was a bully pulpit. And of course, the governorship of a state is a bully pulpit for a governor. And of course, the county judge executive, being the chief executive officer of the county, has, in my judgment, the same responsibility to use it as a bully pulpit for the advancement and the betterment of the county and all of the communities in it. What do you conceive of your function insofar as public relations are concerned if you are the next county judge executive, Mr. Dickerson?
Mr. Barrickman, one thing that I would never do is to embarrass any citizen of Barren County by any action that I would take as Barren County's judge executive. I believe that our county judge executive's position can be the bully pulpit for Barren County. It's my hope to be able to stand in that pulpit and to lead the cheers, if you will, for our county. But there's more to county government than just being a cheerleader. I could quote to you statistics about jobs that have been created and about positions that we hold in agriculture and about positions that we hold in economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer to you the experience of a man who has personally created jobs through the investment in our tax base here in Barren County and its expansion because of that investment. I'm able to speak to other business managers on the same level that they want to speak, to be able to attract them to our community and to let them know just what we have to offer here in Barren County. That's what I offer to you, and that's how I would propose to fill that bully pulpit of Barren County Judge Executive.
Mr. Gillenwater, how would you fulfill it?
Well, first of all, Mr. Barrickman, I want to let our listeners and our viewers in on a little secret. A lawyer is a businessman too. Not only do we pay occupational taxes in the city of Glasgow and pay a substantial payroll, workers' compensation, liability insurance, the whole 9 yards, but my partner and I supervise the business affairs, farm, personal, financial, business, of numerous other people who have entrusted their personal and business to us. With respect to your question about a bully pulpit, your county judge executive needs to, the theme of the Gillenwater campaign is teamwork and cooperation with local, state, and federal officials to keep this county at the top. I can cooperate with Wendell Ford, Congressman Natcher, the administration in Frankfort. As most of you know, I've recently been endorsed by the mayor of the city of Glasgow. He told me, said, Tim, I want to know that I can go to Frankfort with a man who will be well received there, and we can do things and create jobs and do things to keep this community number one. We're in the top 10% in tourism, $64 million a year into this county from tourism, approximately 2,300 jobs, added 1,800 jobs all over in the last 12 months, 5th ranked agricultural county. Your county judge executive needs to thump that bully pulpit just as hard as he can to keep this county right at the top.
Mr. Dickerson, he raised the question of having been endorsed by the mayor, who is unopposed for re-election and is certainly going to be the mayor of Glasgow for the next 5 years. Despite his endorsement of your opponent, if you are elected, can and will you work with the mayor?
Yes, Mr. Barrickman, I shall work with the mayor. My friends, an endorsement is a nice thing to have, but the only endorsement, the sole endorsement that I want, is the endorsement of the taxpayers and voters of Barren County. You are finally the people that shall determine who will sit in the seat of Barren County Judge Executive. It's your endorsement that I seek and your endorsement that I ask for. But please, rest assured and know that I shall do everything within my power as a citizen of our community and as your judge executive to do anything that I can to work with Mr. Honeycutt, the Economic Development Authority in Barren County and Glasgow, in any way that I can, to work to make sure that our industrial base is expanded, to make sure that our community continues to progress as it has in the past few years, and to give you just what you deserve, and that's my time, 6 days a week with regular office hours to accomplish that task. That's what you deserve, that's what you're paying for, and that's what you'll get if you'll elect me as your next county judge executive.
If I understand you correctly, you are saying, Mr. Dickerson, that you will be a full-time county judge executive if elected.
That's correct, Mr. Barrickman. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Gillenwater, will you be a full-time county judge executive, or will you be like Judge Gardner and practice law and also be county judge executive?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Judge Gardner, Mr. Barrickman. All over the county in this campaign, traveling from Goosehorn to Scrouge Out, all through the streets of Glasgow, knocking on doors, I found nothing but respect for our fiscal court and Judge Gardner for keeping this county in the black and at the top. I cannot help but think that his legal talents have cut down on legal fees that the county would have to pay, and has been likewise backed up his administrative and executive abilities. I'm already on the square. The county judge executive's office already has regular office hours. I intend to not just be full-time, but to be an all-the-time county judge executive. Farmers, people who work different shifts, they'll need to talk to their county judge. I will be available anytime any citizen of this county needs to talk to me. My #1 priority is to be the best county judge in the history of this county. Whether I fulfill that goal, I do not know. If the voters will give me that opportunity, I'll certainly do my dead level best to accomplish it. I want to ask every viewer tonight and every listener for their vote, support, and influence to give me that chance. I will continue to maintain the already existing regular office hours of the county judge executive's office and will be available to citizens 24 hours a day.
Mr. Gillenwater, have you examined the present county budget?
I have a copy of it with me tonight, Uhel, and have examined it on frequent occasions.
Have you examined it, Mr. Dickerson?
Yes, Mr. Barrickman, I have examined it and have looked at the audit that Mr. Chandler conducted that ended fiscal year June 1992.
Do you see anything in the budget that needs decreasing, increasing, or changed in any way? Or have you had time to really analyze it that much?
Mr. Barrickman, there's one particular area that I noticed in the audit that Mr. Chandler completed for Barren County in June of 1992. My opponent has talked all through the primary about being an attorney. That's most of what he had to say about his candidacy for county judge executive at that time, was that he was an attorney. I also know that we have a county attorney whose responsibility it is to be the chief legal officer for our county and to advise the county judge executive in the fiscal court. In my review of the audit completed by Mr. Chandler, I discovered that Barren County had paid over $6,000 in legal fees during that period of time. I don't see that there's any advantage to having an attorney sit in this spot if we're going to continue to pay legal fees in excess of the salary of the county judge executive and the county attorney if both those men's professions happen to be that of an attorney. I think we can cut the particular budget by approximately $6,000 in that one instance. But I want you to pay attention to one other thing. A question was asked just a moment ago of my opponent about whether or not he intended to continue the practice of law. Ladies and gentlemen, he has a good law practice. He writes deeds and contracts. He also defends people in Barren District Court and in Barren Circuit Court for various alleged felonies and misdemeanors. You need to find out what the priority of the two candidates for this job is going to be. My priority will truly be to serve the citizens of Glasgow and Barren County, of Cave City, Park City, Hiceville, Lamb, Tracy, Temple Hill, and 88 to the best of my ability, and that will be the only priority that I'll have. When I take the oath as Barren County Judge Executive, then I'll take that oath, and that will be the only one that I will have.
Mr. Gillenwater, you may respond.
Well, thank you. I believe that I have already stated that Barren County will be my #1 priority, my absolute #1 all the time priority, 24 hours a day. I don't think that I've ever been accused of lack of hard work or lack of dedication to a goal. With respect to the $6,000 figure David mentioned, can you imagine what that figure would have been had Judge Gardner not been an attorney? Contracts, bidding, federal law, state law, employment law, environmental law, state and federal regulations, these are all matters which the county judge executive must face on a daily basis. Regardless of the county attorney's position, isn't it true that 2 heads are always better than 1? Judge Gardner was able to make decisions on the spot about state and federal grants with 119 other counties snapping for that money at the same time. That's a tradition in Barren County. Judge Gillenwater, Judge Burchett, Judge Gardner, Judge Nunn, Judge Carroll Redford Sr., all were attorneys. In the most prosperous counties of this Commonwealth, Barren, Warren, Fayette, Jefferson, the chief executive officer is an attorney at the present time in the lead, most prosperous counties. An attorney is not necessarily the best qualification for every field of human endeavor, but may I suggest that it's an excellent qualification for a governmental job as chief executive officer of a county in competition with 119 other counties for adequate funding.
Did you see anything in the budget when you examined it that needs increasing or decreasing or changing?
One thing that I think is important to budget is to budget increased attention for increased time and manpower to make sure that we're aware of every state and federal funding opportunity, grant, low-interest loan to fund this county, to keep this county on that very top level of counties. Warren County, is my understanding, has someone whose job is nothing else to do but monitor state and federal funding to get the very best for that county. That's something we should do, something that will both increase the budget in general and a change in the budget. Likewise, an increase in the funding of our county's rural fire departments on a regular basis should be a priority with the county judge executive, as well as looking for any state and federal additional monies to fund our county's rural services. 2 planks of the Gillenwater platform are these: to work with the mayor of Glasgow, in Frankfort, Washington, with local, state, and federal officials to bring jobs to Glasgow and all the other cities of our county. Plank 2 is services to the rural citizens of our county: water, fire protection, increased and effective law enforcement, and cable services to the citizens of all parts of our county. Those are the 2 planks: jobs for the cities of our county, services to the rural people of our county.
An important official in maintaining the fiscal responsibility of the county is none other than the county treasurer, who is appointed by the county judge. Mr. Gillenwater, have you selected a county treasurer in the event that you are elected, and if so, who is he?
Mr. Barrickman, we have a fine county government at the present time. This county has got almost $1.5 million in the bank, thanks to the administration of Judge Gardner, the fiscal court, and our county treasurer. I think I answered that question earlier when I said before a man is going to make changes, radical changes in the crew of a ship, he should have a little practical experience sailing the ship for a while. That's what I intend to do before I try to fix something that is not broken.
Have you thought of whom you would like to have as county treasurer, or have you selected anybody or made any commitment, Mr. Dickerson?
Mr. Barrickman, at present we have as our county treasurer Mr. Howard Malcolm Jones. I've had occasion to speak with Mr. Jones and have assured him that at the time I take office I would expect to work with him to continue the fiscal responsibility that Barren County has. After conversations with me as County Judge Executive and upon working with Mr. Jones, I'm confident that he and I will be able to make a comfortable transition in county government. I have no immediate plans to replace any employees because I do believe that it's necessary when we begin our term of office in January of 1994 that we work with the people that are most familiar with those jobs and with that county government to make sure that the transition is smooth. One other thing that I'd like to refer to, if I might, is the statement that my opponent made concerning someone to seek after federal and state grants and federal and state money. It seems to me that he's advocating the employment of a person to do work that the county judge executive should do first. That's the reason that we need someone to devote full time for full pay to this position. We need to make sure that the duties exceed the abilities of our county judge executive before we make blanket pronouncements about hiring more people and adding money to a budget that's already going to be stretched because of state budget cuts from Frankfurt and because of proposed federal budget cuts out of Washington, D.C. We need to make sure that we get the most value out of every dollar that our citizens pay in taxes before we begin to make blanket pronouncements about hiring new people for positions that the county judge executive should, if he does his duty, accomplish.
May I respond to that?
Yes, sir.
One thing that I think it's very important to note is this. Now, partisan, and this is very important when it comes to funding this county. As I alluded to earlier, this county operates on an approximately $4 million annual budget, over a third of which is funded by the state and federal government. This is not an issue of partisan politics. This is an issue of effective government. I'd like to think that my period of time of working with the federal government, the state government, the county government qualify me in that respect. But this is not a partisan political issue. I have a whole heap of Republican friends that are going to support me and pray for the unanimous support of the Democratic Party. But here's just a fact of life, and this is not a partisan issue, it's a fact. We have a Democratic state administration, we have a Democratic governor, we have a Democratic federal administration and a Democratic president. We have a unanimously present Democratic fiscal court and a Democratic mayor of Glasgow. Do we want to swim upstream for it's not an issue of partisan politics, it's an issue of who can deliver the goods for this wonderful community of ours. That's a point I want to make. And one thing by way of response, I think David is maybe overstepping his boundaries a little bit when he assumes something that Tim Gillenwater plans or Tim Gillenwater does. My intentions and plans are what I'll tell what those are. I don't need any help by implication or assumption. Thank you.
Isn't it true, Mr. Gillenwater, that most of your state and federal grants come through the regional governmental unit commonly known as BRAD?
In great part they do, Mr. Barrickman, but they come from a multitude of sources. Laws, federal regulations change constantly, especially state and federal regulations change overnight. Your county judge executive needs to be ever vigilant and on top of those to get every penny of assistance from the state and federal government for our community. Too long have our tax dollars gone off to other areas, other parts of the state, other large cities. We need to bring as much of that home as we possibly can through teamwork and cooperation with local, state, and federal officials.
But again, the essential work, is it not done with BRAD? And as county judge executive, won't whoever is the elected judge be a member of BRAD and on the governing committee?
Certainly, certainly.
One of the problems that is all over the country is a matter of crime and controlling crime. Of course, as county judge executive, the county judge has certain responsibilities insofar as seeing that the county officials do their job insofar as controlling crimes concerned. Some counties in the state have county patrols. Do either of you think that a county patrol, police patrol, would be good for Barren County? Mr. Gillenwater.
The more law enforcement we can have to the rural areas of this county, the better. Recently, Glasgow, under the administration of Mayor Honeycutt and the fine police department that the city of Glasgow has, was declared one of our nation's 15 safest cities. But many of our rural communities, especially concerned are some of the people in the southern part of the county, Temple Hill, who want increased law enforcement. To go back to your earlier question, Mr. Barrickman, additional matters to be budgeted would be an increase in law enforcement in the form of sheriff deputies for this county to get more effective 24-hour law enforcement to the rural communities of our county. That's a priority. Whether or not I would want to say at this time without further consideration and certainly without consultation with the fiscal court that I would radically change the county's law enforcement to some type of police patrol, it's just a little bit premature. But one thing I want to make 100% certain that is understood by our viewers and listeners, I'm committed to more law enforcement for the outlying communities of our county.
Mr. Dickerson.
Mr. Barrickman, thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, among the duties and among the appointments that a county judge executive can make are to appoint a county chief of police and to appoint county police officers. The fiscal court, under decisions made in Kentucky by the judicial system, is then required to fund that county police force. While we have a fine sheriff's department and fine deputies, it would be one of the things that I would like to see us do in Barren County, budgetary constraints permitting, to possibly establish a county police force and make that police force a merit-based system so that no political considerations whatsoever would enter into the hiring of those people or the conduct of their duties. It needs to be a nonpartisan, or if you will, a bipartisan effort to make sure that every citizen of Barren County is safe in their homes and that they have the ability to drive safely upon our highways without the fear of drunk drivers being put back on the road, and that we have adequate law enforcement protection. That'd be one thing that I'd like to look at, but I can't make to you a blanket pronouncement that we're going to spend money, given the budget cuts that are coming from Frankfort and given the budget cuts that are coming from Washington, D.C. with regard to county funding. But those are things that we need someone in the position to spend the time to look toward. And that's something that we might like to accomplish. Another thing with regard to law enforcement is the possibility of a juvenile holding facility in Barren County. We don't have one now. Our county sheriff's department has had to drive juveniles as far away as Covington, Kentucky to house them overnight and then pick them up the next day and bring them back to Barren County. That's uncalled for in my opinion, and we need to look toward ways to save money and to save those costs for an overextended sheriff's department. I pledge to you to work in any way that I can with existing law enforcement, and if budgetary constraints will allow it, to expand that law enforcement across Barren County for the benefit and for the safety of every one of our citizens.
Mr. Gillenwater, do you think we should have a juvenile detention center?
If there is any way possible to fund such a thing without detracting from other necessary services, which I believe it is, I'm 100% committed to that. We need to upgrade our existing correctional facility to meet state regulations for the housing of juvenile prisoners to save on both transportation costs and the fees, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, approaching $75 a day per prisoner that we pay to other counties to house prisoners in those counties. I believe, looking at the budget, I'd have to double check to make 100% sure that we've paid several tens of thousands of dollars to house prisoners in other counties, money that this county pays to other counties. I'm for a juvenile correctional facility in this county. While we're on the subject, Mr. Barrickman, of corrections and correctional facilities, one thing that I am in favor of is taking carefully screened, low-risk, non-violent offenders out of the county jail and put them in the orange jumpsuits on the side of the roads, on road right-of-ways and other county property, carefully supervised to clean up our county and save our county a little bit of money with low-risk, carefully screened, carefully supervised inmate work crews on our county road right-of-ways and other county property.
One of the problems that the country is having is particularly handguns. I noticed recently where Governor Jones says that he's going to have some type of bill for the legislature in January concerning handguns. Louisville and Jefferson County are in the process and have been in the process for the last month or so legislating or attempting to legislate on matters of gun control. It has reached the point where you have 10 and 11 and 12-year-old children taking guns to school, and one incident in Louisville where shot from a bus, an 11-year-old was shooting from a bus. There have been instances here in the Glasgow school system where guns were found on students in the school. Do either of you have any suggestions or any proposals to make, or would you have as county judge executive, about how to control handguns, and particularly handguns with teenagers and under? Mr. Gillenwater.
I have a special concern with the public school system in this county. Unlike my opponent, I do have 2 children in the public school systems of our county, very concerned about the welfare of the school students, their teachers, and the quality of education in our county. I think that's something that your county judge executive, working with public school authorities, and with law enforcement officials, can be very effective in assisting. I am concerned with that and will work with those school officials, and I think this goes back to the juvenile authorities and the juvenile officials, and we'll work with those officials to try to make our schoolrooms, the public schoolrooms of Barren County, Glasgow, and Caverna, safer for the teachers and students.
Mr. Dickerson.
Mr. Barrickman, unless I'm incorrect, and I don't believe I am, county government or local government either can propose or pass ordinances that are not previously passed into law by the state government. I could be mistaken on that. I am not an attorney and am not up on the court cases in those.
Generally, that's
matters.
correct. Generally,
that was correct.
That's correct.
And so, with regard to juveniles' possession of handguns, I think that in itself violates present federal law. I believe to own a handgun, a person must be 21 years of age. I believe I'm correct in that also. With regard to my opponent's statement about the involvement of his children in the public school system, they are involved in the public school system. I'm certain that he pays taxes into that public school system. I too pay taxes into that public school system, and in addition, my children attend Glasgow Christian Academy here in Glasgow, Kentucky. They do that because of my commitment to Christianity. I choose to send them there. They should have that opportunity if their parent decides to do that. I've decided to send them there. But with regard to public education versus private education, the last time I checked, Vanderbilt Law School was a private school. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please remember that you will have the same comments and the same answers to every question from me without political consideration. I shall never make reference to my opponent's decision to attend a private law school when he reached the age of majority, and I would appreciate the same consideration from him.
Let's get back to the gun control issue. Let's assume that the legislature, the governor makes a recommendation and the legislature passes a law allowing local governments to pass ordinances concerning some types of gun control. Back to you, Mr. Dickerson. Would you be in favor of enacting such an ordinance if it was allowed by the state, or would you be opposed?
I'd be opposed to it, Mr. Barrickman, because it is my opinion that the Second Amendment to the Constitution allows us the right to keep and bear arms. I will uphold that because that's part of the oath that I hope to swear in January 1994 as Barren County's next Judge Executive. We swear an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and the laws of Kentucky. If such an ordinance were to be passed, then I would not propose it in Barren Fiscal Court. I would recommend, however, though, very stiff and mandatory penalties for the conviction of a felon who used a handgun in the commission of a crime, or any sort of gun in the commission of a crime. My friends, for too long, we've had ACLU lawyers and radical defense attorneys go into the courtroom and turn the laws of our country against the law-abiding citizens and to use them in favor of criminals. It's time that we stop that. Legislatively, that'll have to come out of Frankfort and out of Washington. There's not a lot that we can do on the county level.
Mr. Gillenwater, would you be for or against some type of control over guns, particularly for juveniles, if the legislature in its wisdom allows it?
Mr. Barrickman, I think handguns should be kept out of the possession of juveniles, except for sporting purposes under careful adult supervision. In principle, I am for the Constitution of this country and against gun control.
One of the complaints that I have heard recently about county government, and I heard it during the primary and I heard it before the primary, was the consolidation of voting precincts. I've heard complaints from the area of Park City and the area of Lucas in particular. As county judge, would you recommend reestablishing some of the precincts that have been abolished, or leave it as it is, or even consolidating more precincts? Mr. Dickerson.
Mr. Barrickman, the action that was taken with regard to the consolidation and elimination of certain precincts was taken in accordance to the Kentucky Revised Statutes, Section 117.055, Paragraph 1, subsection F, which states that no precinct shall cross the boundary line of a Justice of the Peace or Magisterial District, nor a County Commissioner's District. The statute further states in Paragraph 4 that precincts shall be as nearly equal by number of registered voters as is practicable or feasible. The statute further states in Paragraph 6, Section A, that if the Barren County Board of Election refuses to act upon its statutory requirement, that any voter in that county can petition fiscal court for a summary mandatory judgment to require the County Board of Elections to make that precinct realignment. In January of 1992, county government was informed and in fact directed by the Department of Local Government in Frankfort to enter into a reapportionment that was required by law after the 1990 census was completed. In August of that year, Judge Executive Gardner informed the Barren County Board of Elections that the Barren Fiscal Court had adopted Ordinance Number 168, which reestablished precinct boundaries in Barren County. At that time, the County Board of Elections entered into the process whereby precinct lines, because of the way the state law was written, had to be redrawn. However, as County Judge Executive, if any sort of reapportionment were to be directed by me, then at that time I assume the State Board of Elections would again work to realign the precincts to make sure that they didn't cross magisterial boundaries. As Judge Executive, though, I have no authority, zero authority, to mandate or in any way direct that precinct boundaries be changed. That's the sole purview of the County Board of Elections, composed of the County Sheriff, the County Clerk, a member from each of the Republican and Democratic parties.
It does have to be approved by the fiscal court, though, in the final analysis, does it not?
No, sir, it does not. That's strictly the purview of the County Board of Elections.
I'll take your word for it. At least the county judge executive can make a recommendation, however.
Only with regard to magisterial boundaries. The county judge executive has absolutely no authority to recommend anything with regard to precinct boundaries.
Mr. Gillenwater, any comment?
It's a shame that the people of the affected precincts, the majority of them, will not be able to hear this discussion. The elimination, which is one reason that I'm in favor of franchising cable to the entire county. The elimination of 10 rural, the elimination of 10 exclusively rural precincts and the horrible changes that occurred at Cave City were a terrible injustice to the rural people of this county. I would guesstimate that it discouraged between 2,000 and 3,000 people from voting in this county. Now, what my opponent did not tell you is that I've brought the law books that apply to this situation with me. Nowhere in those books can he point to something that states that he was called upon when he was on the Board of Election to eliminate Lucas, Tracy, Roseville, Dry Fork, Goodnight, Slick Rock, Carl Hill, Rocky Hill, Railton, and change the Cave City precincts all around. There was absolutely no requirement for the elimination of those precincts whatsoever. It worked a terrible injustice on many of the rural people of the county. If elected your county judge, I intend to use the influence of that office with the Board of Elections to make voting accessible to the people. We should strive to make voting easy for people.
We're running out of time. I've got a couple of more questions, but I'll give you 30 seconds here. And then I've got a couple of more questions I want a yes or no answer on, if I may have them.
Thank you, Mr. Barrickman. Ladies and gentlemen, the only election that compares to the 1993 primary election here in Barren County is the 1990 primary election for state representative, when once again 4 Democratic candidates sought that office. The turnout in this election exceeded that election, even after the precinct changes that Mr. Gillenwater alleges discouraged participation. Additionally, the law does require that that precincts be consolidated, that precincts even be eliminated to make the voting process feasible.
This question directed
May
to
I
both.
respond?
We're running out of time. I think we've had enough about voting precincts. Obviously, you all are in disagreement about it. One's got one position, one's got another. I've got 2 other questions I'd like to ask. Yes or no answer. Would you be in favor, if elected, and propose to the fiscal court that you have at least some night meetings of the fiscal court?
Absolutely yes.
Mr. Gillenwater.
Yes, sir.
The other question, I noticed where in the paper recently where the Association of County Governments, that's not the proper name for it, but anyhow, it and the association, the Kentucky Association of Counties and the Kentucky League of Cities, has drawn a bill and recommended its passage to the legislature to establish a code of ethics for county officials. Among it, it would require the disclosure, among other things, it would require the disclosure of all income of any county official or any candidate and so forth above $5,000, and several other things that we don't have time to go into. A quick yes or no answer. Would you be in favor of code of ethics for county officials?
Might be something we need to add to the administrative code. Yes, I'd be in favor of looking at it.
Mr. Gillenwater.
I would be 100% in favor of it, but I don't think that they could draft a code of ethics that would exceed my own personal code that I would intend to impose on myself as your county judge executive.
Gentlemen, I thank you very much. Our time is up. I also want to thank WCLU for carrying this. I think both of you have stated your positions real well and have done a fine job, and it should be enlightening to the public. And I invite the public to tune in again tomorrow night when we will have the candidates for county judge, county attorney.
your county attorney, Ben Rogers. 6 years working for you in the county attorney's office, which ranks in the top 20 in the state in child support collection. Ben Rogers, committed to prosecuting drunk drivers and working for business. Ben Rogers, on the job, working for you. Re-elect an experienced leader. Ben Rogers, a county attorney you can depend on.